This week we're going to talk about what makes a web page a web page. Why do we see what we see inside of our browser? So to give you a good idea of what's going on here, I'm going to take a look at the source code for this, and I am using the Chrome browser. So I'm going to right click on this and click inspect. This is the Texas A&M San Antonio website. Actually, let's close this. I want to say, I think view page source is one of my options. So I'm going to right click, view page source. The whole web page that you're looking at is actually created just with this script and then with the images that it downloads from the server. So somewhere, I don't know who hosts the Texas A&M website, but there's a server at a distant location, or it could be on campus, no telling, but it may well be somewhere else. And these simple file text documents are saved on there along with the graphics. And this code is downloaded into your browser, into your Chrome or your Firefox or your Safari or whatever it is that you're using. And the browser then constructs what we see. It takes all that code and the images and it puts all of this together. Now, if you take a good look at this, and I do encourage you to do that, because this really, you can see the structure that you are going to employ to make your HTML document or your HTML project in this module. You can see up here that they have the HTML tag. They just have a little bit of extra information talking about the language, so that we know that we're using US English. Things like that are going to help reader software like JAWS, for instance, that are going to help people who are visually impaired. We have our head tag. Inside of the head tag are all the things that aren't actually seen on the page, but they help the page run. So my head tag closes down here. And I think I mentioned in the other video, inside of the head tag you have things that just make it run, but you don't see, like scripts, more script functions, links to cascading style sheets, and next week's project we're going to do cascading style sheets. So you can see what makes that work. Meta content. Okay, the things that actually appear on the page show up down here in the body. And after you do your project, I want you to come back and look, and you'll see that basically so much of what I required in this project is actually showing up here. We didn't do nav bars specifically, or that's just a tag, but I had you do a list with list items. I have you make links with a hyper reference that's going to link to this page. You can see here that they have a title for the link. And some of these they actually even give, which not actually, it's not like it's a big deal, but they have you have it link opening up another page. But really, all of these basic tags are what goes together and makes a web page. Now this is what you see. I bet you that this is probably put together, not written like this, but it's put together dynamically. Generally, I can't guarantee that because I can't tell. Because what happens is if you are having a dynamic website, the website is actually put together from more pieces using a different scripting language. But in the end, what our browser sees is HTML, because our browser can only interpret HTML. That may not make much sense to you right now, but like pages like CNN, for instance, where people are going to be going in and loading up stories, they're not going to be your web designer. They're going to be people who are logging into a background like your WordPress background and putting their stories in there. Blogs. Whenever you write a blog, you don't have to create a new HTML document or put in HTML code at all. You just type it into the background of a page, into a dashboard like your WordPress dashboard. So WordPress is also put together dynamically. Let me show you how that works. If I'm going to show you the background of WordPress, actually, or not WordPress, excuse me. This is Bluehost, and this is the internet service provider, I believe, in Provo, Utah, where we host our ComTemmusa site. And we are going to talk more about how to run the background in case some of you ever want to host your own site. It's not terribly expensive. You can host a lot of other people's sites. So if you want to go into business for yourself as a WordPress website developer, it's not a bad way to make a living. So anyway, if I go in here into the website, you can see where I install WordPress. But I'm going to take a look at the file manager. And we're going to go into this. I have it open here. Inside of our website, I have a 2016 folder, which you should recognize from your URL address to get into your page. You go to comtemmusa.com/2016 and then into your website. But WordPress is put together, instead of being with HTML, it's with PHP. And PHP is a server scripting language that your browser cannot understand. If PHP was sent directly to your Internet Explorer, your Firefox, it would have no idea what to do with it. But the server in Provo, Utah, takes all of these bits and pieces that are in here, and it pulls information from the database, which we're not really looking at right now, but hopefully you've all used databases or maybe even Excel spreadsheets before. Excel spreadsheets are not a database, but they're kind of set up with the same mentality. So it pulls out information from the databases with the PHP, puts everything together, and then sends HTML code to your browser. And your browser then interprets the HTML code and shows the end user of the machine, of the web page, exactly what it is people are looking for. So if we go in here to web content, we go into themes. You should recognize this: themes, plugins, uploads. If I open this up, you would see the images and things that you all have uploaded for your websites. But let's go into themes. And in here, if you take a look, I don't know if any of you are saying, let's say Modern Decode here. All of these little bits and pieces of code will go together. The index page will call up the header of the page. It will call up the footer of the page. It will call up the functions, and it puts everything together and then sends the HTML code out. For our project this week, we are making a static web page, which means we are actually doing the coding in the HTML itself. WordPress uses dynamic coding. It's actually, the pages are put together by the server right before sending them to the user. And that is put together with PHP. That PHP is not the only language that does it, but that is the server language, server scripting language of WordPress. So that is the difference. Basically, if the page is put together by the developer or if the server puts it together. Server puts it together, it's dynamic. If your web developer is coding in HTML and it's anytime any change that's going to be made to the page has to be made in the HTML, that is a static website. So that's the basics of how these pages work.